Hello, listeners. Welcome back to the Sports ABCs. This is Andrew, and today I'm going to be coming at you solo. I'm going to be breaking down the United States men's national team roster for the upcoming hexagonal friendlies to qualify for the World Cup. And we're going to jump right in with goalkeepers. And the three goalkeepers that Bruce Arean named were Brad Guzan, Tim Howard, and Nick Rimando. And as I think about it, I think that Nick Rimando should not be on this team. I am a huge Real Salt Lake fan, and I love Nick Rimando, and I admire what he's done in Major League Soccer, and with the talent that he still possesses, he plays at a high level. But he is the third choice goalkeeper behind Tim Howard and Brad Guzan. I don't think that anybody argues that. The only chance he may have of playing outside of the other two being injured is if a game goes to penalty kicks. And even then, there's no guarantee. So, in my opinion, you need to bring in youth. That's overall, I'll say it again and again as I read through this, that youth is what needs to be infused. And I feel like Bruce Arean has decided to bring in only veterans with a couple of youth players that haven't been proven. And he's not giving the younger people a chance to gain valuable experience. And especially with goalkeepers, I worry that if Tim Howard, Brad Guzan, and Nick Rimando all retire around the same time, we don't have a fourth string now that could step into a starting role and do as well as these three have done for years. You could bring in Sean Johnson. You could bring in Bill Hamid. I know there's a new guy that I don't know much about that he's supposed to be the next up-and-coming thing. But if you don't give them the experience now, it could hurt us later on, possibly as soon as the World Cup, possibly just after that. But I think that we need to start bringing in youth for goalkeepers especially and allow them to gain the experience of watching Tim and Brad and even Nick. But that is the one thing about goalkeepers is you need to bring in that youth. And Bruce Arean brought in 9 defenders. We have DeMarcus Beasley, Matt Beasler, Jeff Cameron, Omar Gonzalez, Matt Hedges, Eric Lichaj, I can't say his name, Tim Ream, Jorge Villafana, and Graham Zusi. And the first name that pops out to me is DeMarcus Beasley. He's 35 years old, and he's not what he used to be. He was a very solid defender for the men's national team for over a decade, but he's just, I wouldn't call him in. I understand that with DeAndre Yedlin hurt and with just people underperforming, we are thin at that position. But I feel like you could call somebody in like Tony Beltran from Real Salt Lake, who's played with the men's national team and is a very consistent, solid defender. That would probably be an upgrade over DeMarcus Beasley. I just personally think that he's past his prime and there should be other people called up before him. I don't think, however, that he will start. I see Graham Zusi starting over him, and I don't know why you would bring him in as a backup, especially in the middle of a season when he's with the Houston Dynamo, because he's been on report saying that he is watching the Dynamo and his heart might not be with the national team at this stage of his career. Also, as far as the other defenders, it's pretty straightforward. There's not really a whole lot to say against it with injury. The only other thing that I would love to see is Justin Glad for Real Salt Lake. I believe that he has had an amazing season. I know he's played with some of the younger United States national teams, and I would love to see him get a first-team debut soon. I would say sooner rather than later. He's been amazing for Real Salt Lake this year. He's been their best defender, hands down, and he's very smart, and he's caught onto the game very well. I don't know if his place right now I don't know if he has a place with the national team right now with the importance of these games. But I do feel like if he were to be called into camp as a third or fourth choice center back, he could really benefit that for his career, and I think the men's national team would also benefit. And moving into midfielders, we have Kellen Acosta, Paul Arriola, Alejandro Bedoya, Michael Bradley, Fabian Johnson, Dax McCarty, Darlington Nagbe, Christian Pulisic, and Christian Roldan. And, I think that that's about right. I don't really think that there's a whole lot that you could go differently. We have some youth, some younger people with Nagbe and Christian Roldan who can come in and give valuable minutes. But at the same time, you're probably going to start, Pulisic, Bradley, probably Fabian Johnson, and Bedoya. Maybe Kellen Acosta gets in there. All the rest of the guys are just there for experience. Nagby is there, probably for injury or if they need just his style of play, but I don't see him getting a start. The thing with this lineup is I think Michael Bradley needs to relinquish control of the team to Pulisic. I think Bradley needs to sit back as a number 6, protect that back line, and be able to just distribute long passes. He's very good at passing the long ball, and let Pulisic and some of the forwards we'll talk about in a minute do what they do up front. He needs to stay back a little bit, play that 6, and just really let Pulisic work wonders. He's doing great in the Bundesliga, and let him continue that with the national team. Then we have the forwards with Josie Altidore, Clint Dempsey, Jordan Morris, Chris Wondolowski, and Bobby Wood. And I know that there are some people complaining and asking why Wondolowski is on the team. And I see it. He has a very good nose for the goal. He can score, but I doubt he even sees a minute of action. If he does, it'll be just a mere cameo. I don't think that he'll have significant playing time because you have the likes of probably Bobby Wood and Josie Altidore starting with Dempsey coming off the bench. And then I personally would play Morris as a wing. I wouldn't really use him much as a forward. I would let him play on the wing and use his speed. And then if needs be, they could throw him up top and go with 3 up front. But not really a lot of big complaints. Some people that I would watch out for and I would like to see be able to be incorporated into the national team coming up is, Julian Green. He played a little bit under Klinsmann. I thought he played well. I was impressed, and he since hasn't quite gotten significant call-ups. And that's because I think he's young. He's only 22 years old, and I feel like he could really grow. I feel like he needs to be given that chance, and he has a very, very bright future. And I'm still not resting on Gideon Zalelum. I know that he just barely had ACL surgery and will be out for the foreseeable future, but I do feel like he has a very solid place in the national team in the future. I think that if he can put this injury behind him, he is going to be very dangerous next to Pulisic. Again, I already talked about Justin Glad and how I would love for Bruce Arean to call him up. If Bruce is listening, look into Justin Glad. He's very solid and can really help. The last person kind of to look out for also plays for Real Salt Lake, and that doesn't surprise me because I'm a Real fan. But Brooks Lennon, he's on loan from Liverpool, and he's got the youth and the speed to be really dangerous. He's almost a jack of all trades. He's played wherever Real Salt Lake's needed him. He's played in defense, midfield, and forward, and he's done great with all of them. Along with his teammate Justin Glad and also Jordan Allen, who is recovering from injury now, I think that if those 3 were able to burst into the first team choice and the national team lineup, along with the likes of Bobby Wood, Jordan Morris, Pulisic, it could really spell out very good attacking options for the future. And that's kind of what I feel like with this national team call-up is that Bruce Arena is just saying, let's qualify for the World Cup. That's his main objective, and it should be. But at the same time, I feel like you have to look to the future as well. I feel like Bruce Arena is only looking at these next 2 games and saying we have to qualify, and then we'll start trying to implement youth. And he might not even do that afterwards. But I feel like the national team, for the most part, is getting older, and we need to give the young stars the time and the effort that they need to be able to become the next generation of soccer players here in the United States. And I don't know if Bruce Arean is the person who will ever be able to do that. But overall, I think it's a very good lineup. I think that we will do just fine in our games. We got who's up first? It's Costa Rica on September the 1st, and then afterwards on September 5th we play Honduras. We win both of these games, and we're almost a lock for the World Cup. So we might have to wait until October until we find out who comes into the October games to see if they are looking towards the future or if they're going to ride this team all the way through the World Cup and then have 4 years to grow the next generation. So comment down below. Tell us what you think. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and we have an email, thesportsabcs@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and have a good day.